All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in the ESPN Upstate Super Bowl wrap-up party. I am Rob Brown. He is Marc Ryan. Glad to have you guys along as we talk a little Super Bowl. The Rams take it home, a 3-point win, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about, Marc Ryan, a lot of things we saw. But first and foremost, and I've been waiting for this moment for a long time, I want to give the microphone and the floor to you, Marc, because I want you to congratulate Matt Stafford and apologize from the bottom of your heart. I'm ready to hear it, Marc Ryan.
Oh, come on. Listen, they made the Super Bowl 3 years ago with Jared Goff. You know, they have a super team around him. I went through, Rob, and I counted the number of quarterbacks that I thought would win the Super Bowl with this team, with this Rams team, and I was at 17. Okay? 17 guys would win the Super Bowl with that Rams team. He's a good player, Rob. He's a good player. He's not a great player. You know, he's a good player. Joe Burrow took the Bengals to the Super Bowl. Okay, the Bengals are the AFC version of the Detroit Lions. Did Stafford ever do that with the Detroit Lions? Oh, he didn't have any weapons. Oh, that's right. Megatron's a nobody, right? So, no, you look. Credit for being a good player. I think 17 quarterbacks would have won the Super Bowl with that team. What in the heck is Cincinnati doing not doubling Aaron Donald at the end there? Like, I do not understand. Like, how many times do you need to let that guy ruin your offense before you realize we're not letting him beat him? You ever watch, Charles Barkley's coverage of the NBA, Rob? He goes, I don't care if anybody else beats me, but that guy's not going to beat me, right? And the Bengals, like, at what point are you going to send a block to Chip, a tight end to Chip, or just put two straight offensive linemen on him, max protect? Like, I mean, you and I, Rob, are not football savants. Why could the Bengals not see that that's what they needed to do?
Yeah, that sack to end the game on 4th and 1. First off, I still don't understand. Listen, I've heard a lot of people that have said, run the football, right? It's 4th and 1, run the ball. And it's easier said than done. I've used the expression on my show many times that stopping a train is really easy, right? Just stand in front of this train and push real hard. But it's execution that matters. And do you have the strength and ability to execute? The strength of the Bengals was obviously Joe Burrow and throwing the ball. What I didn't understand is, why are we throwing the ball on 4th and 1 to 7-yard out routes, to 7-yard in routes, right? Like, I didn't see anybody crossing behind the linebackers, forcing people to stay back. I agree with you that they let Aaron Donald all but run free late in the game, especially on that 4th and 1. I mean, again, he kind of came off the tackle who was blocking to the outside and had a wide open path to Burrow, and I agree with that. I said on my show, and I believe I heard you say the same thing. I think both of us picked the Rams for one reason, which is the defensive front seven of the Rams is just better than the Bengals offensive line. And for most of the game, the Bengals offensive line did a nice job, but for whatever reason, late in the fourth, they just kind of devolved back into, well, let's just do a straight up blocking scheme. We'll put one guy on Aaron Donald, and that's where it all fell apart. I'm going to go back to where we started. You're right. There may have been 17 quarterbacks that win with that Rams offense, but one guy did it. And I think Matt Stafford deserves a ton of credit. To me, Detroit is very similar to Carolina in that they both had a lot of weapons. The problem is the decision-making, right? It's the decision-making across the front office. It's the decision-making by the coaching staff. That was always the problem in Detroit. It is the problem in Carolina, which I'm hoping they get fixed with Matt Rule being on the hot seat. We can talk about that later on in the week. But I thought overall the big liability for Cincinnati on the flip side of the ball was exactly who I said it was on my show last week, which is Eli Apple, right? There was this big story about Eli Apple 2 weeks ago.
I thought an apple a day keeps the doctor away, right?
Yeah, well, an apple a day keeps a solid defense away, too.
Yeah.
Eli got toasted in New Orleans. He got toasted in New York. He got toasted in Charlotte. There was this big story about Eli Apple saying, oh, Matt Rule told me I'd never play for another NFL team again. And he did, but he should not have, right? I mean, I go back and I kind of laughed. In fact, I texted one of Keegan, one of our friends and listeners earlier, because there were 4 big Rams passes that changed the game, and 3 of them were to Cooper Kupp. And all 4 of them, Eli Apple was in coverage. And all 4 times he got toasted, including that touchdown that ultimately won it for the Rams. I said on the show, Eli Apple was a liability. Unless you shade defenses to help Eli Apple, you're going to be in trouble. And Cincinnati ran him in straight man, and he got absolutely roasted.
They made him Eli Apple Crisp, Rob, and you can tell us about Apple Crisps, can't you?
Big fan. Big
Yeah,
fan.
big fan. Yeah.
Especially tasty when a coworker buys them. It
Yeah,
turns out who knew.
not as much. Not as much when the coworker buys them. Rob, you just mentioned something. Decision makings by Detroit when Stafford was there. What about the decision making tonight? Not only with a non-double on Aaron Donald, but the non-double on Cooper Kupp. Like, Rob, it's not that hard, man. It's not that hard. You double Cooper Kupp. Anybody else but Cooper Kupp is going to beat us on that last drive. I heard Collinsworth say, I'm going to replay that drive over and over again in my head as if it's some historic moment. Cincinnati, what are you doing? There's one guy you can't let beat you there. What exactly are you doing with that coverage? Like at what point are you just going to take him out of the equation? You're going to have to beat me with somebody else. Van Jefferson's a good player, Rob. Stafford missed him wide open in the back of the end zone on 1st and goal, right? I don't understand the decision making by Cincinnati not to take Aaron Donald out of that last drive. I don't understand the decision making not to take Cooper Kupp out of that last drive. Rob, I can't stand super teams. I think Cincinnati was making a case to be America's team. I like authenticity. Super teams are disingenuous. I like organic. Super teams are processed. I can't stand it. I'm unhappy. And the most painful thing about this for Cincinnati is, Rob, this was not a great roster. Like they got here kind of magically through smoke and mirrors. And there's absolutely no guarantee whatsoever that they're going to get back here. They got a horrid. Their offensive line is offensive, and they've got the 18th overall defense in the league. There is absolutely no guarantee they're ever going to get back here. I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, I know Burrow's your boy. I love that kid. I absolutely love him. I love everything about him. I love his attitude. I love his moxie. His knee gets bent back the wrong way, and there's no chance he's not coming. There's no chance he's coming out of the game. Like, that guy's becoming my favorite player in the league. And the fact that he rocks that suit to the stadium, knowing if they lose 30-3, he's got to wear that suit in the post-game presser, and he's wearing it anyway. Rob, I'll tell you, man, in college, we were in basketball intramurals, and I had this. You're gonna be very impressed with this, Rob. I had this skull and crossbones do-rag. Okay, I know you're very impressed with this, right? So I went to the intramural basketball game with a skull and crossbones do-rag, channeling my inner Joe Burrow. Only I didn't know Joe Burrow yet; he wasn't born. And we get to the game. We get to the game, and we're playing the football team. And my friends look at me and they go, "Take the damn do-rag off right now." You know what I mean? Final score of that game, Rob, was 92-16. It wasn't good. It takes a lot of cojones to wear what Joe Burrow wore. I just love the kid, man. I love what he's about. My heart breaks for him, man, because it's easy to say you'll be back. Well, Patrick Mahomes hasn't won one since he won one, right? It's not easy.
Yeah, I was driving around today getting ready for the game, and I heard, and I think yesterday as well, I was listening to Big ESPN on our station, and I can't count on two hands the number of times I heard, well, even if Joey B doesn't win this one against a good LA team, he's going to be back. This Bengals team reminded me, Marc Ryan, a lot of the 2009 Saints team, right? Like, you've got a quarterback who is kind of carried with good talent, but not great talent around. I mean, that Saints team was good with some of the running backs. They had Pierre Thomas, Reggie Bush, obviously. But it wasn't like, you looked at the roster on paper and it wasn't like they blew you away by any stretch of the imagination. Defensively, had some players, John Filma, whatever. But I remember people going into that game in 2009, 2010 saying, hey, this is the start of something for the Saints, right? Like, this is the start of a dynasty with Drew Brees. They never went back. They never got to Drew Brees never got to another Super Bowl. It's not easy. I mean, it's not easy to do it. And I feel the same way. I enjoyed watching this Bengals team play because I saw a lot of the Saints in them, right? A gritty city that's kind of got this attitude and emotion about it that is unique. A team that hasn't been good in the better part of 40 years that has put this magic season together for their fans to get behind. It wouldn't shock me if Joe Burrow never goes to another Super Bowl, and that's what guts me about this. And I agree with you. In fact, when they lined up on the two plays, because Cooper Kupp had that first touchdown pass he caught where you had the dual penalties that reset it, and they had to run it back. When they lined up Kupp and Apple was in one-on-one coverage with him on the outside, I'm watching on the couch and just went touchdown right before the play started. I said touchdown because the play was simple. You fake Coop inside, send him outside. Apple can't cover that. I'll never understand why that was the defensive play that they decided to run there. So I agree. I think it comes down to decision-making by the Cincinnati Bengals coaching staff, which is kind of almost ironic in that I thought Zach Taylor and the coaching staff had done a phenomenal job to get him here. I think you go back to that game against Tennessee, 9 sacks given up by the offensive line, and Zach Taylor's got a plan together to make sure that offense keeps rolling despite the number of sacks that they've given up. I think you can put a lot of that on the guys with the clipboard. I think Joe Burrow performed. T. Higgins got away with murder on that long touchdown pass to open the second half, but they figured out a way to put 7 up on the board. Do I think it was right? No, man. I mean, that was the most blatant missed pass interference since the Rams and the Saints in the NFC Championship game 4 seasons ago. But they figured out a way to do it. They turned around, got another pick a second later. Again, Cincinnati did what they needed to do until the last 2 minutes of the football game, when defensively they just forgot what had worked all game. I mean, Cooper Kupp had a couple of catches, but it's outside of one big play. He had mostly just been kind of relegated to 3 and 4 yard chunks here and there. And then on the most critical play of the game, you send the worst DB on the field and Eli Apple into single coverage on that guy on the outside. I agree, Marc Ryan. When it comes down to it, when we look back at this game on Monday, and we're talking about the breakdown tomorrow, the thing that I think both of us are going to hit on our show is Zach Taylor and the coaching staff of the Cincinnati Bengals inside of 2 minutes just completely farted, just completely fell apart.
Yeah, no, completely. And there's a lot of ways, Rob, that we are willing to lose at things in life, right? Like, and for me, every single bullet's going to be fired. You know what I mean? Like if I'm going down, the whole ship is going down and every single bullet is going to be fired. I'm not going to go out because I wasn't as aggressive as I needed to be. You know what I mean? Like in every opportunity I've ever got in my entire life, I have earned the opportunity because my persistence bordered on harassment, Rob. I was that aggressive, right? That aggressive with every single thing that I've ever earned in my life. And I can't imagine losing the Super Bowl because you weren't aggressive enough. Nobody's going to say, why are you singling the Rams' 3rd and 4th best wide receiver? Nobody's going to say that. They are going to say, hey, you had 2 weeks to prepare and your best idea for Aaron Donald was one-on-one in crunch time. That was your best plan. With
an offensive line that you already knew was suspect, you decided to
30th in the league in pass block win rate against the team in the Rams that was number 1 in pass rush win rate. Just very questionable, Rob. I got to like this. This isn't ingenious stuff here. If you and I can figure it out, I think Bengals fans have got to be kicking themselves, man. And I just feel for them so badly, man. I mean, if you think about the most long-suffering fan bases in sports, where are the Bengals right now? I mean, comparatively speaking, your Saints got off the schneid, right? The Lions are certainly up there. Gosh, everything Detroit is up there except the Red Wings, right? Like, who else is there in terms of the most long-suffering fan bases in sports? The Bengals are right there now, man, and they were right there. And that's the most painful thing. And it brings you back to the age-old question, Rob. Would you rather just absolutely get your tail kicked in and know, okay, well, we didn't belong we didn't belong, or would you rather lose like that and have it just your heart ripped out of you where you led a majority of the game?
Yeah, and again, I'm going to, if I'm a Cincinnati fan, even I as a guy who was, openly, I was pulling for them, right? Like I'm a Saints fan. I'm never going to forgive the LA Rams for what happened, costing the Saints.
And they stole your saying, kind of. They stole your saying. They plagiarized who dat. Where they couldn't even come up with their own saying, right? Rob.
And I want you to know, I hate LA so much that I pulled for the team that plagiarized who dat and turned it into who dey. That's how much I was anti-LA, just so we're on the record there, ESPN Upstate Universe. I think we're going to replay that last series entirely, but that 4th and 1, because one of the things that had worked so well for Cincinnati was getting rid of the ball quickly, right? Once in the early portion of the game, they're just kind of firing the ball around, and they never let Aaron Donald get involved. There wasn't enough time for him to get to Joe Burrow to disrupt. And then for whatever reason, as we got deeper in the game, Cincinnati suddenly felt like deep routes were the way to go. Like they thought they were LA, right? They started going deep routes. As when Odell left the game with that knee injury, to me, in my head, I thought Cincinnati's won this game, right? All you have to do is what you've done so far, and you're going to win this game, because they have just lost the one piece of that weapon. The one weapon that opened that offense up down the field is gone. All you have to do is all you've done so far. And as we got late into the game, they stopped doing it. And that is going to hold on for a while for Cincinnati fans, is asking the question, why is it we were doing these quick hits? We were keeping the Rams defensive line from getting to us. We weren't allowing, the LA really wasn't even blitzing for the most part, which worked out well for Cincinnati. But when we got down into crunch time, they just stopped dancing with the girl that brought them. And that is mistake number one, is to not dance with the girl who brought you.
Yeah, and Rob, where is Aaron Donald's place among the all-time greatest pass rushers ever? And then there's this with Cincinnati. With Cincinnati, if you are in a situation with Aaron Donald, where with Joe Burrow, where the Rams' defensive line made Cincinnati's offense predictable, because Cincinnati couldn't have any late developing routes. You're not going to get Jamar Chase down the field. You're not going to have any double moves with the defensive line getting in there that quickly. So if you're a Rams defensive back, you can just literally sit on every route, right? You know that Joe Burrow's got to get to the ball quickly, and you can just bump and run, sit on every route. If you give Burrow a line that can open up the route tree to him, good luck the rest of the league. Good luck rest of the NFL. And that's their job this offseason, man. That's their job. That's their MO. You got to get Joe Burrow enough of an offensive line so that every possible play in the offense is open when you go up against a team like the Rams. But, again, the Bills are going to be the angriest team in the AFC next year, Rob. The Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes seems to have some mechanical issues right now. Tennessee, are they going to, Aaron Rodgers purchased land in Nashville? What does that mean? You tell me, but like the Titans are going to be heard from, the Chiefs, the Bills are all going to be heard from. There's going to be a surprise team next year. I just really feel for Joe Burrow, man, because that would have been a real magic carpet ride if they could have completed this.
Yeah, it's
7-6, Rob. They were 7-6. Yeah. The only game they lost after 7-6 was the game in which they rested the starters against the Browns, the last game of the year. So they were 7-6. They were essentially a 500 team. Magic carpet ride to the Super Bowl. It was right there.
Yeah, it's sometimes the thing about a fairy tale is they end in disaster, right? And that's exactly what happened there. It's intriguing, and I think next year, I think you're right. The AFC is wide open right now next year, right? Kansas City's going to be back. Tennessee, I think, upgrades a little bit. Buffalo has got to be. If Cincinnati wasn't the most exciting young team to pull for, Buffalo certainly was. There's going to be players in the AFC. To me, the NFC next year, I think we got to wait and see what LA does. I mean, you called them a super team, and I honestly, I think that's fair. Now we got to see how the contracts get divvied up this offseason coming off a Super Bowl. LA's probably back. Tampa, obviously, unless Brady changes his mind. And I know you talked on your show about the potential for him having a little buyer's remorse and decide, screw it. I love you, Giselle, but I'm bored. I'm heading back to the stadium. I think outside of that, the NFC is pretty much LA's ballgame if they can keep this team in play. But I agree. I feel bad for Joe Burrow because I think the guy just went from the highest high riding a fairy tale run to the top to next year. It's going to be an absolute crapshoot because there's probably 4, maybe 5 AFC teams that could end up competing next year. I've heard a lot of radio folks this week say, oh, don't worry about it. Joe Burrow's going to be back next year. I wouldn't put money on that. And I am a betting man.
And you can't put money on that, Robin. You really have we have no idea what's gonna be happening here. But the Rams are in the midst of 7 consecutive years without a first-round pick. At some point, Rob, you got to stop robbing Peter to pay Paul. You know what I mean? They got it done. You have to say it was all worth it. By the way, Say hi, Angela. I'm like, hi, Angela.
Hi.
Hey. Hey, Rob, you got a busy kitchen
No,
behind you.
Mark,
Man.
I'm done with you. I want to hear her thoughts on the Super
Okay.
Bowl. I'm done talking to you.
I loved it. It was a great show. Halftime, I enjoyed how close the teams.
Can we just say 6 performers are better than 1? Can we agree? And keep country music as far away from this thing as possible, please.
I have to say I don't agree with that.
She doesn't agree with that. No.
I like her already. Mark, it's
Yep.
shocking. This is the second time I've talked to her, and I already like her more than you.
Thank you. It was a big surprise, Rob. Big surprise. Yeah. What are you serving us behind you, man? You got a lot going on back there.
Well, the lady friend who has called it an evening comes to me earlier today and said, I would like ribs and vegetable kebabs grilled for the game. So we have both knocked back a rack of ribs and a couple of vegetable kebabs. And we did the low-key Super Bowl this evening, which I got to tell you, as I get into my late 30s, which, Mark, I know you're well past that part.
Thank you for the money.
As I get into my late 30s, the more I appreciate sitting on the couch at the house with a bucket of rum for the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like it's just easier that way.
No, it is, man. It is. We went to Restaurant 17 in Travelers Rest yesterday. I don't know what happened to Restaurant 1 through 16, but we did end up at Restaurant 17. And Mark Whiteman was there from WYFF, and John Harkes was there from the Greenville Prime. And it's just like, what are the odds that all these people are 45 minutes away from Greenville? It was incredible, man. But like you, they had to roll me out of there. So that's how it works, man. I did see the ribs and the kebabs. They looked awesome, man. I suggest you save some for Joey B because he's going to need them.
Yeah, poor guy.
Yeah.
23-20 is your final, ladies and gentlemen, as the Los Angeles Rams win the Super Bowl, knocking off the Cincinnati Bengals. That's, I think, going to do it for us. Final thoughts and your last message of congratulations to Matt Stafford, Mark Ryan.
Yeah, listen, Matt Stafford, congratulations. You have established yourself as a decent to good NFL quarterback. Jared Goff took the Rams there. You did them 3 points better. Only half the league could have won the Super Bowl with that Rams team. So is that what a backhanded compliment is? Is that what that is?
I believe you are correct.
I'm not quite sure what that is. Rob, this was a fantastic NFL postseason filled with a level of unpredictability that I don't think the league has ever had. We've never had a lower seeded Super Bowl. The 4 seed made it out of the AFC and the NFC. That has never happened before. I think the NFL is doing a lot of things right to have that level of parity. The NBA, who's going to win every single postseason matchup for the most part, right? MLB, you have a good idea who's going to win. These NFL playoff games, we had no clue, Rob. Absolutely no clue. That divisional round, those 4 games, you could replay all of them and get 4 different results. I think if you ran the playoffs over again, the Bills would be meeting the 49ers in the Super Bowl. I'm serious. If you ran the playoffs over again. So I think the NFL is doing a lot of things right. The drama is through the charts right now, and they have fully shown themselves as to why they are, setting the standard for the rest of the sports world. Now, do you have an apology for Roger Goodell for creating such a behemoth that is the National Football League?
It's right behind my hand.
That's my
apology to Roger Goodell right there.
Okay.
Roger Goodell remains good. Listen, I will. In fact, I was laughing earlier because we had a commenter, Chase, who jumped in and said the NFL rigged that game. And I'll be real with you.
Oh, come on.
I don't think the NFL rigged that game. I think if the NFL wanted to rig that game, they don't call double penalties to reset the play after the first time Cooper Kupp caught the ball in the end zone. That being said, you will never, and I mean never, get the tinfoil hat off my head that the NFL rigged the game for the Rams to go to the Super Bowl over the Saints a few years ago. I think Roger Goodell, again, I have to remind people constantly, Roger Goodell is not an authority figure. Roger Goodell is just the mouthpiece that the 32 owners trot out there so that they can screw us over as fans. and not have them get mad at the NFL owners, right? Because we all want to love our owners. Oh, Gail Benson does phenomenal. David Tepper, phenomenal. Jerry Jones, phenomenal job running our team. No. Those guys screw you over. They just send Roger Goodell out to tell you about it so that we all hate that guy. Doesn't mean he's off the hook for being that guy. So
all I'm going to say, I'm not saying that some of what you said is not valid. I am saying that if I knew nothing about you and heard that rant, I would say Saints fan. I would say Saints fan, and I would be right. Oh, he's got the shirt on. Look at that. He's got the floor delay. There.
I want you to know. Here's the thing. There was a part of me, like I was pulling for the Bengals tonight, predominantly for Joey Burrow,
of course,
and because I never want to see Los Angeles or any of its sports fans happy for any reason at all, ever. Never, ever, ever.
You're a Braun guy, though.
I am a Braun guy. And the fact that Braun went to – I got to tell you, as much as I love LeBron, and I do like LeBron, as much as I love LeBron, there's a part of me that is enjoying the Lakers imploding and going sub 500, right?
Great.
There's a part of me that's very much enjoying.
You know why that's happening, Rob? Because anytime there is absolute power, there is abuse of power, right? And LeBron James has abused his power as general manager and putting that team together. And it's kind of funny it's kind of fun to watch it crumble, isn't it? It really is.
It's again, there's a little bit of me that's mad at Anthony Davis, right? Like, stick around in New Orleans, help us build something and become a legend. And he's like, no, I'll just go ride LeBron's coattails. I do love LeBron. I don't have any issue with LeBron. If you have Marc Ryan, if you have the power to be the GM of whatever team or company you play or work for, and you know you can do a good job, right? Like, part of the reason I've said on my show many times, part of the reason that I've gotten this job is because when I lost my job in Jacksonville, I called and said, Marc Ryan, can you help me do something here? And you helped me end up here, right? You helped call that shot. You're the LeBron James of this team. I'm the Anthony Davis, but better looking. I'm going to regret saying that at some point, but for now, I'll let it fly. There's something about being in that spot, and I have no issue with LeBron. I do have issue with the Lakers as a whole. It's not even the Lakers. I should say that. It's LA fans, Marc Ryan. There's not a more fickle fan base in America than LA fans. It's like if the team's winning, they're the most passionate fans in the world. But if the team's sub 500, you can't find a Lakers fan to save your ass, right?
By the way, guess where LeBron's finishing his career? You heard it here first. I'll give you a hint. It's this color.
Texas A&M. How about that?
Where he's finishing his career. Not with a 12th man, Rob, back in Cleveland.
You think so?
He's going there after this year.
See, I saw the other day where he said that he would be willing to move teams to play with Bronny, right? And I got to tell you, if you tell me there's not something that's kind of cool about LeBron playing with LeBron Jr. in the NBA, that's an amazing story, right?
We've never even seen anything like it. By the way, Rob, this is why you and I can't do a post-game show, because a post-game show turns into a regular show, and then you and I are debating this, debating life, debating everything. Matt Stafford, cheers to you. I know Rob Brown really wants me to do that. Honestly, Rob, like, I don't think he's any better now than I ever did. Like, nothing, I know you're trying to like catch me in a Lonzo moment of stubbornness. It's not like I saw anything from Matt Stafford that I didn't see previously. He's a good player. Okay. So I give him a tip of the cap. The Rams had a super team. Unlike the Bengals, their numbers across the board were better in the postseason than they were in the regular season. So you got to tip the cap. The best team won, man. Have a great show tomorrow.
Yes, indeed. We said 10 minutes. We've now made it to 30. So we're going to call it an evening, ladies and gentlemen. That is Marc Ryan. My name is Rob Brown. We'll be back on air, both of us, tomorrow. The Rob Brown Show from noon to 3, followed by Offsides with Marc Ryan from 3 to 7. Hope you have a good night. Rams win 23-20. We will make fun of Roger Goodell further tomorrow on the show. Have a good night, everybody.